What's up, everyone? Maximilian here, and we're going to talk about the character that's next up on the roster for Killer Instinct, Spinal. Now, sadly, Spinal has been kind of sitting in the darkness for quite some time. There's been no official confirmation of his release date, even the following character, Fulgore's release date, and a lot of us are presuming that he's not going to be available until the end of January. So I'm probably assuming the final week of January of this month is when we're actually going to see something about Spinal, especially his release, hopefully a trailer a week before. Now, what I kind of wanted to think about was my presumptions of what Spinal is going to be, because I've been talking to the developers a lot at all these events and stuff like that, and they keep telling me, like, just wait for future characters to come out and stuff like that, when I ask them about balance and how characters act and stuff like that. Because a lot of the game seems like it's not just designed for the 6 characters that are available, it's designed for the 8 that are going to be intended for Season 1, and things might change fairly drastically when Spinal and Fulgore are introduced. But let's talk about the Bone Man right now. As a lot of you guys know, Spinal was in both of the original Killer Instinct games and is probably the second mascot of the franchise. He's on the side of the boxes, he's on a lot of the arcade art, and everyone kind of knows Spinal from being Killer Instinct. What's nice is that we already have this small little sneak peek from the end of one of the previous trailers that we can actually see Spinal in action, but nothing talking about gameplay, but we do get some pretty cool look at the design of Spinal within the art book that I showed off not too long ago. Now, between his design, we all know the dude's going to be a pirate. He was technically a pirate in Killer Instinct 2, so I'm not too surprised by that one, even though it happens thousands of years in the past. But I really want to talk about his gameplay, because Spinal's big thing was kind of teleporting and morphing into other characters from Killer Instinct 1 and 2. That was actually the entire reason I enjoyed playing Spinal for the most part, is because Spinal could actually transmorph into other members of the cast and just voila, get all this stuff done. I think that would be an amazing trait for him to have. I'm not too sure how exactly they're going to pull it off within the new Killer Instinct, because the bigger issue is that those were just sprites back in the day, and a lot of the sprites were loaded into the RAM of the game, and you can just replay them, and they were just like black and white versions to make it look like they're shadow variations that Spinal turns into them. I always thought that was kind of a cool concept, but it didn't really do much, it just looked very flashy. And within the Xbox One, I don't know if the system actually has the power to load a second character model from Killer Instinct, so who knows if that's actually going to show up, but I would definitely like something kind of similar where he kind of takes the moves of other people. I don't know, I kind of feel that's a cop-out character in a lot of situations. I kind of had issues with Seth a lot at first in Street Fighter, and other fighting games have been doing this for a long time, but we'll see. It really depends if Spinal is going to be a boss character, which I'm presuming is actually going to lead to Fulgore. Spinal also had some pretty crazy moves in the classic Killer Instinct games, including things like a dive kick, a slide, and a whole myriad of other attacks. He can actually soak projectiles, and I think he could actually soak some special moves as well that would give him these like soul, like orb skull things that would hover around his body, and they would allow him to have projectiles. I think this is a big part of what makes Spinal, especially as far as gameplay, and I think this stuff probably should be preserved in the long run, mostly because within the new system of Killer Instinct, imagine all the crazy stuff you can do if, like, you had an orb and a projectile, and if the projectile did different things. That could be pretty freaking big. But what Spinal definitely didn't have from the previous KIs was a lot of good opener moves. He kind of had some awkward attacks, he had some pretty crazy stuff as far as his sword. He had this giant freaking fire sword thing that was friggin' awesome. It was actually one of the best looking moves in the original Killer Instinct. And the biggest personal trait that I have about the character isn't specifically about his gameplay, and it's mostly about his design as a character. The guy is a goofball skeleton. He is an insane, wacky, psychotic goofball skeleton that screams, cackles, and goes nuts during everything he did in the old games. And that gave him a lot of freaking personality. Sure, he's just a Jason and the Argonauts ripoff, and we actually see a lot of that touted within the art book, within like the designs for his classic costume and stuff like that. So I don't know, I really want Spinal to be faithful to his original. I know he looks like a pirate, he looks a lot different than he did in the previous games, and I'm kind of worried that they might take him for more of a serious approach. The only time we've heard him or know anything about his character or personality is him screeching at the top of his frickin' lungs at the end of the trailer, and that was kind of more scary and less creepy, goofy, terrifying, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of hoping that Spinal retains a little bit more of what he does in the classic Killer Instincts instead of kind of changing him super drastically. I don't want him to be Blackbeard. I don't specifically want him to be Captain Jack Sparrow, although I find the similarities freaking hilarious. I want Spinal to be Spinal. I want him to be slightly more difficult to use than the rest of the cast, but I think everyone in Killer Instinct is sort of easy to use right now for the most part. It takes a while to be great with a character in KI, but it doesn't take that long to just jump in and start doing stuff, you know what I mean? Unless you pick someone like Glacius. So I've got pretty high hopes for Spinal. I think right now I'm kind of torn between what's my main character in Killer Instinct. I'm leaning towards Saberwolf because I just enjoy playing him more than any other character in the game right now between his ground game mix-ups. But I'm hoping that Spinal takes care of some of the other extraneous characters in the cast. I don't feel like Sadira specifically has a very bad matchup, and who knows what Spinal will do in the Sadira matchup, although I'm leaning on this thing based off things that I've heard that Spinal might actually do fairly well against certain aerial characters, so I don't know what the hell that means. Maybe a projectile that's like angled up or something like that, and a projectile that doesn't go just straight across the ground, it might go up at an angle. Who knows? If he has something to get her out of the air, that'd be pretty freaking cool. But we'll see. Is he going to be rushdown? Is he going to be keep away? I don't know right now, but I have a fairly big presumption that he's going to be a combination character, because there's not a lot of other characters with traditional fireballs in Killer Instinct yet, except for like Jago. So I'm thinking Spinal might actually end up being a traditional fireball character. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How much are you looking forward to Spinal? How much are you looking forward to a new character being introduced in Killer Instinct? Because within the roster we have right now, I think it's kind of freaking exciting that to see something, a new character put in that could potentially change the entire game, because that's what feels like could happen right now. For the better, I hope. For the worse, there is a chance that it could imbalance the whole freaking thing, but we will see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you want Spinal to be more serious, or do you want him to be more cartoony and goofy like he was in the previous games? My name is Maximilian. Thank you dudes very much for watching, and stay tuned as soon as I get an opportunity for Double Helix to let me take a look at Spinal, get some video capture of him, and show you guys what's up. I will do so, and we will be back on this channel as soon as that happens. Take care, folks, and I will see you next time.